Hey there, I'm Simon and welcome back to Photobite Kids. So, next up in our series of photo challenges for kids aged between 5 and 15 years old, it's a challenge all about editing your pictures. Now you can go as far into editing as you want to. There's some really fancy software out there that can do incredible things to photographs, and you can get really creative. But we're going to go down a really basic route and to show some really rudimentary, simple techniques and methods for editing with devices like mobile phones. Really simple ways to edit your pictures, make them really pop. And to show you, to give you some tips and to give you a bit of advice, I'm going to hand you over to our resident photo expert as usual, and that is Professor Gardner.
Thank you, Simon. So yeah, today we'll be editing photos. So I'll be doing this on a mobile phone. You can either sit back, relax, or you can join me as we edit these, but we're just going to go through some photos that I've taken and we're going to see what we can do to improve them, because we've already worked on how to get them good in the camera, or the phone in this case. We're going to try and see if there's anything else we can do to make these photos look better. So we're going to start off with my screen recorder on so you guys can see what I'm up to, and here we go. So you should see a screen pop up next to me. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to actually play around with some of these photos. So the way that it works is if you have your photo loaded, you will go into the edit section. So on an iPhone it'll be in the top right corner. However, if you have an Android, it may be in the bottom right. So it will vary from phone to phone, but there is an editing feature in almost every single phone these days, so you should be able to edit your photos. So right off the bat, it's got an auto feature, so you can basically, it just adds vibrance to your photos. You can see a slight difference. In this case we'll keep it on. Then we'll move over to exposure, so just by tapping onto the next icon, and as you can see, by dragging it up and down, it can make the photo look darker and brighter. Now we were able to do this in the camera itself at the time, but sometimes when you're looking to shoot a photo and then edit the photo, what you want to try and do is you want to get a very even exposure, so you can see in the shadows and you can see in the highlights. So when it comes to the edit, you can make that choice of if you actually like blurring or like darkening the shadows or blowing out the highlights, and that's what I work on right now. So we're gonna have a little play with it. Let's see. So I kind of like it where it is. We'll probably go a little bit brighter, and then we'll move on to Brilliance. And again, this is just pushing out the highlights, and we're just again going to play with that. I kind of like boosting it quite a bit. Moving over to highlights, and you can see how it brings out the colors in those much brighter areas of the photo. So you can go a bit too much, but I think if we go about a quarter of the way there, so about a quarter is about there, that looks pretty good. And now we've got shadows, and you can see this photo doesn't have much in shadows. There's nothing much we can really pull from this one. If anything, it does better if we darken it a bit. And with contrast, you can see how it just gives you that tone. I kind of like the higher contrast. We're going to go for about a 57 on that one. And then brightness, again, you can see how it plays, but I'm going to keep that neutral because I don't like what it's doing there. But then a black point, which is just shifting the blacks to make them darker or brighter. Again, I'm going to keep that 0. Saturation, something you have to be very careful with, because if you go too much, it can ruin the photo. So for this case, in this particular photo, I'm kind of happy where it is. So we're just going to go with done, and we're just going to save it there. So we can see we've gone quite a nice way in improving these photos. Moving on, there's another toy scene, but this is the one I want to get to. So this is one I took when there was a lovely sunset in the garden, and I just want to see, because it's quite a flat image, and what I mean by that is there's no colours that are jumping out at you. It doesn't stand out. So we're going to go in here, we're going to try and edit it, we're going to try and do some tweaks to it. So we're just going to wait for it to download from the cloud, because that's how I sync up my photos. Any day now. There we go. Right, cool. So here we go. So we're going to go into exposure. So I noticed when I bring up the exposure, it will just get rid of that sky completely. So we're going to keep it on 0 for that one. Brilliance. We'll bring the brilliance up a little bit. We don't want to go crazy with it. Highlights. I think dialing down the highlights a little bit helps. And then shadows. Again, the thing is with this is You won't know what you want until you start playing with the settings, so don't feel like you've got to know what you want to try and edit out of the photo. Sometimes you may not know, so that's why I'm just scrolling up and down to see what looks good. I might go, oh, that looks a lot better, oh, that looks much better, just by scrolling it up and down. Moving over to contrast, let's see. Okay, a little bit of contrast certainly helps. Brightness, let's see, I think making it less bright helps. Well, again, we can come back to these. This isn't a set decision. We can play with them later. Ah, there's the colour. So that's in the black point, so we're just going to shift that over. Saturation. Now this is where you can see how the colours can go a bit crazy. But there's some colours in here that aren't natural, so we've got to be very careful with how much saturation we add. I'm going to go with about 30 or 29 in this case. Vibrance. What the vibrance does is a bit different to the saturation. It doesn't try and suck out the colours, it just emphasises the colours a bit more. So there's a bit of a difference, but again, we're not going to go too much. Warmth. So this is what can really change your photo. So this is a sunset. So if you go too cold, you find it doesn't really stand out as much. But if we dial it over to warm, you can see how it makes it feel like as an atmosphere. It feels warmer and hotter in the photo. So we're just going to adjust it like so. Tint. Again, this can just shift the colours a little bit. So you got the choice between like a pink and a green. We're going to shift it more so towards the green. And let's see what these ones are. Sharpness, definition. Okay, we're not going to worry about those ones. Those are a bit more advanced. So we're just going to leave it. We're going to have a look at the little photo filters that they offer as well. That's just down in the middle, as you can see on my screen, of course. And I don't like any of those. So we're just going to keep it to the original. And we're just going to hit done. And that's it. So that's the difference we can just by editing the photo there. Now, if you're doing portraits, I'm going to try with this one. So this is really going to show you what your camera can capture in terms of finding things in the shadow. So again, just going to wait for it to download. This shouldn't take long. There we go. Right, I'm going to go straight over to shadows here. Just going to show you what this can do. So you can see if I dial it all the way down, you just see my eye. Dial it all up. Where are we? Dial it all the way up and you can just about see my shirt, which is pretty cool. But we want to try and make it dark so you're only really seeing my eye. And we're just going to, again, I'm just going to flip through these. I'm just going to see what I like. So I kind of like that. I've got something interesting I'm going to try as well. Saturation. Let's see. Let's do that. Contrast. So again, I'm just jumping between them. Like so. Hit done. Oh, no, I wasn't done. Whoopsie daisy. Right, now we're going to go over to the filters, and I got just the one. There we go. Where were you hiding? Mono. There we go. So that's monochrome, black and white. And this looks okay, but there's something else we can do that I haven't touched on yet, and that is we can go into the edit, and we can actually crop it. So at the bottom, you'll see there's a dial, there's 3 little filters, and then there's a crop. And what we can do is we can actually adjust how the photo looks, and you can change different things, different aspects you can go with. So if we tap on here, you can choose different types. So we can go with a 4x3, and using 4x3, if you want to put these on Instagram, 4x3 portrait is fantastic. Anything like 7x5, what happens is it gets too narrow and too tall, and you aren't able to show it off all on Instagram because they're difficult. But with Facebook, you can show the entire thing, so it's not too much of an issue. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, I'm done with this crop here. I'm debating if I leave in that shadow. Cut that bit out, mate. And I think I'm just going to go with the eye, and we're going to hit done because it looks like an eye but doesn't look like an eye, so it'll make people look and second guess what they're actually looking at. And for the next one, I'm going to do another portrait of me, but this time we're going to see what else we can do, and we're just going to experiment with it because this was taken on a DSLR. So this is a much bigger camera, so we have a lot of resolution to play with, and I want to see what kind of detail we can get out of it. So we're just going to wait for it to download again, and then we can start. Right, so we've got the photo, hit auto, and you can see it makes me look a little bit pink, so, but I kind of like the look because it gives quite a warm look. In fact, if we go straight over to, let's see where it is, let's go into So what happens is when you turn auto, all of these are changed. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to find the one that I want, which is the warmth. There it is. And you can see what happens if you make it cold. It makes me look a bit icy. If you dial it all the way up to warm, it makes me look like I have a tan, which is lovely. So we're just going to dial it into the warmth, just a little smidgen. That looks nice. And now we're going to go over to tint and just see what that does. Again, the pinks kind of help, so we'll keep it there. With the auto, it does do quite a bit of the work for you. So what you want to do is once it's done the auto, you just want to kind of tweak it from there. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just seeing what the contrast does. You can see what happens when you go minus 100 and then plus 100. So you never want to go 100 one way or the other. That's why you want to try and play with it bit by bit. So that's what we're going to do here. There we go. So I'm going to go for about 17 on that one. And then, let's see, Brilliance. Yeah, not too much Brilliance there. What else have we got to play with? Let's go into filters. Let's see what they offer in the filters department. So these to me feel a bit aggressive, so we can dial them down if we want to. So this one's not too bad. Again, just dialing these down, see which one stands out. I kind of like the look of that one, the vivid. So we'll hit done, because I'm very happy with that. And that's come out quite nice. So that's just what you can do with a few photos. I haven't done all of them, but just wanted to show you what you guys can do with skin tones and general colours. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to submit, and as always, my name's Luke, this is Photo By, and we'll see you next time.